Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dylan Jarris. I am a wife to a Navy officer. I am a mom of 2 boys, and I'm a multi-six-figure Etsy seller of about 6 years now. A lot of people ask me, how did you do it? What was your secret? What's the catch? What's the trick? How did you do this? So today I'm going to tell you my life story. The things that have happened in my life, a lot of those things are why I have been successful and gotten to that multi-six figures on Etsy. People ask, you made over $1 million on Etsy. How did you do that? Or they think, I could never. Or they think, you must have been really lucky. They think it's somehow out of reach for them. But today, I'm going to tell you my life story, and I'm hoping that you'll realize that this really is attainable for anyone. Well, I'm going to rewind. I'm 31 years old. I was born in Minnesota. I've lived there until I was 17. I had 2 parents who were both entrepreneurs. My mom was a dentist and she had her own dental practice. My dad was also a business owner of a successful fencing construction business. They were entrepreneurs their entire lives. I had one sister who's 2 years older than me. She had a chromosomal microdeletion that led to heart problems, heart valve transplant when she was just 6 weeks old. She had scoliosis and surgery for that. She had a cleft palate. She had a lot of different medical situations. Now, I was the younger sister. I was kind of always in the background. She needed a lot of attention. And I ended up feeling like I could get the positive attention if I achieved things. That meant achieving things with academics, with athletics. I was the kid that my parents didn't have to worry about. They knew I was on the right path and I was good to go. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of privilege. My parents were successful business owners. I was put in private Catholic school from preschool through high school. I could do all the activities, the sports, dance, 4-H, anything I wanted to be involved in, I could be involved in. Everything was set up just to have this perfect all-American life. I grew up on a 160-acre horse farm. We did chores every weekend. We had horses. I took riding lessons. My dad competed in horse trials at a very high level, so we traveled around the country supporting him in that. Everything was great. When I was 11 years old, I found my mom's journal. And of course I read it. I had been feeling like something was off, but reading that journal changed everything. In that journal, I saw the words for the first time, crack cocaine. I had no idea what that meant, but it meant that things were not okay. Everything was going to be different. My dad had an addiction that I did not know about. The addiction had been hidden from my sister and I, and from my mom for quite a while. When there's light that is shown on the darkness, everything comes to the surface. The addiction was no longer a secret, and everything kind of imploded. So that was kind of the start of my adolescence. And believe it or not, that was not going to be the toughest situation that I was up against. Just 2 years later, when I was 13, my older sister, Colleen, suffered cardiac arrest. She was in her high school gym class, and she was not given CPR. She went into a coma, and she came out of it, but it was with an anoxic brain injury that would be permanent. She was permanently going to be cognitively like a 9-year-old. Now, this was my best friend. It was my sister that was just 2 years older than me. She had to relearn how to talk again, how to walk again, how to eat again. She would never be the same. So during that time, I was 13 years old. We were kind of living between home and the hospital. I would go to the hospital right after school to the ICU to see her. And also during this time, I ended up skipping 7th grade and jumping right into 8th grade. At this exact same time of my sister's accident, my dad's addiction spiraled just completely out of control. He would then go on to over a dozen treatment centers and rehab programs. He managed to keep his business running really successfully. He was very high functioning, but it was a very scary time. So that's kind of how my adolescence started. So I went through high school and I had to be okay. I had to be, a rock star student, a rock star athlete. I had to make sure that at least, everything else was going wrong for my mom, but at least I could be stable and consistent and she wouldn't have to worry about me. My goal in high school was to not let those events impact my future. I was more determined than ever to make an amazing life. I did not want those events to define my life. My goal was actually to go to Stanford. I wanted to be pre-med there. Ever since I was 12 years old, I worked so hard to try to get into Stanford. I was waitlisted, and that was crushing. But I was still so proud that I was waitlisted that I framed the waitlist letter. I ended up getting a great academic scholarship to the College of William and Mary. It was one of the 13 schools that I had applied to, all outside of Minnesota. So I was very determined to get out. My thoughts of pre-med shifted over to business because I still could not handle the whole blood thing. While I was in college, I got into the Mason School of Business and I studied marketing and international business. At this time, my parents also got divorced. This is all probably more than you care to know. While I was at the College of William and Mary, I got accepted into a program at the London College of Fashion over in the UK. So I went for it, and it was a course in buying and product development. I thought that I wanted to go into fashion journalism. While I was in college, I also started a blog called Always Dolled Up. Someone ended up putting it on this website called Stumble Upon, and it kind of went viral. I was getting millions of hits. People were sending me products to review. It was kind of crazy. After I got back from London, I got an internship at Marie Claire in New York City. Now, I thought this was my in. I thought this was it. I thought this was the start of my fashion journalism career. But then I realized that the devil wears Prada is 100% true. I was shocked at what happened during that internship. To this day, I'm surprised that it was still legal for them to have a program like that. I won't go into it, but I realized really quickly that fashion journalism was not for me. So I ended up looking more at the buying and product development side. I went to work for Zappos.com after I graduated from college. They're headquartered in Las Vegas, and I got onto the buying track and became a buyer. I loved the job, but I felt like I wasn't going to meet my husband in Las Vegas. I found that it was really transient, and a lot of the people you met, you didn't know if they were really there on vacation or if they actually lived there. So I started looking at what my next move was, and I moved to Seattle to work for Zulily.com. While I was working in Seattle, I was still blogging, and a man reached out to me on my blog to invite me to a Navy officer birthday ball. Now, this guy reached out and he sent me a list of 10 reasons why I should go to this ball with him. He also included a picture of himself. Now, I'm like about 5'9", and I thought this guy was gonna be like 5'6". He was sitting in a kayak, so I couldn't really tell. So we met up for coffee. I was pretty risk averse, let's just say. He was a 6'6", gorgeous man. I was so pleasantly surprised. I went to the ball with him. We fell in love. We ended up moving to San Diego together, where his military orders sent him. I moved to San Diego without a job. That was a huge risk for me. Soon after we moved here, we got engaged. I still didn't have a job. I was working so hard to get interviews at Petco headquarters on their e-commerce side of the business. And during that time, I was hustling. I was dog walking with Rover.com, making $1,000 a month. I was buying jewelry from Alibaba and selling it on eBay. We were engaged for 6 months, got married, and a month before our wedding, I put up something that I made for our wedding on Etsy. It was a floral letter. That's how the Etsy business started. 6 months into the Etsy business, I finally got a job offer from Petco. I turned down that Petco offer and I doubled down on Etsy. I also found out we were pregnant at that time, and then we would go on to have our first child in San Diego. We did $134,000 that first year on Etsy. And then we moved to Connecticut for 6 months because when you're in the military, they like to move you around a little bit. So now we're in 2018, we're in Connecticut, and that year we do $142,000. We moved back to San Diego. My husband is a department head on a submarine. This means he's gone a lot without any communication. My mentality with Etsy was, okay, we're gonna take it a little bit easy. I'm not gonna kill myself here. Let's just, survive. I had a baby. My husband's gone. And at that point, I started my Shopify store. I had someone build that website for me. So even though I had the mentality of just survive, I also had full-time childcare for the first time from 8 to 4 every day. And we ended up doing $244,000 that year, which brings us to 2020. 2020 was the year my husband deployed. And part of my New Year's resolution was to do $100,000 with a business that year because in my mind, I knew my husband was going to be gone. Like gone, like no email, no phone, no nothing. So I expected we might do 100,000, and that was totally fine. Well, it was insane. We ended up doing $360,000 that year. If you ask me now how I did that with him gone during a pandemic while my dad was not doing very well, I would tell you that my faith was the only thing that got me through that time. My husband was gone. I was alone in San Diego without family. The world was going crazy. Free money was flowing everywhere. People were getting checks. The stimulus was truly a stimulus. Our sales jumped from 244,000 up to 360,000 in 1 year. And people were really spending their money on Etsy. So my husband came back after deployment in August. Remember, he had no phone. He had access to email like 2 or 3 times during that whole 6 months. He came back to San Diego and I showed him what we did with the business, and he was pretty surprised. Remember, the plan was just survive. Was back on land for a little while. We found out we were staying in San Diego another few years, and we got pregnant with another baby, which brings us to 2021. We had our little baby boy, Graham. We bought our second house here in San Diego and rented out the first one, and we were able to afford a full-time nanny. Business was super consistent. It wasn't quite like 2020 with having a new baby. We did have to raise our prices quite a bit and extend our turnaround times, but we still ended up doing $320,000. So overall, things have been really consistent for the business, and that brings us to 2022. We were able to invest in another property here in San Diego because the business has been so stable for us. We're expected to do $300,000 to $400,000 again this year with our shop. And with this consistency, I really feel like we have a proven path of success here. So now I have started my coaching business. And you can see, my life has not been perfect. People would say I've had a lot of privilege, but there's also been a lot of tragedy and sadness where I've had to make decisions and how I'm going to move forward from things. Our life still isn't perfect, there's still a lot of struggles with our families, but Etsy has opened so many doors for us and given us this huge, abundant lifestyle. We can literally do anything we want. We can go anywhere we want. We can give our kids the best care and schooling. We don't really have any financial stress. And Etsy has really provided that security for us. So soon I'll be opening up a program for one-on-one coaching. I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I started realizing that we have had so many doors opened for us and our family from Etsy. And I feel like it would be selfish if I did not help other people do the same. There are people who are willing to work as hard as I did to make this happen for themselves, but maybe they don't know the exact steps to take. Maybe they just would like someone to support them and guide them to that path versus trying to figure it out on their own. So that is why I will be offering this program. I'm going to keep the number of students very limited just because I want to make sure that you are 100% successful. I want to be able to devote the time to support you one-on-one, and I want to ensure that your goals are met. So for that reason, it's going to be a limited number for this launch. But if you are at all interested, I would love for you to sign up for the wait list. Even more so, I would love to schedule a call with you just to talk about what your goals are, what your shop is like, what kind of you're struggling with right now. And if you don't have a shop, that's totally fine. I would love to hear about where you want to go. So if you're interested, the link is below for that. I'd love to also have you join us over on Instagram at Dylan Jarvis. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, please click the subscribe button because I'll be doing videos daily.